Hey guys, it's Rainy, and I'm coming at you with a very important video that I wasn't planning to make it all right now, but it needs to be said. And I apologize ahead of time if I'm looking at myself instead of at you guys for most of this, because it's early in the morning, and when my PTSD is a little bit more tender, it just helps me to like see here, and I can see everything focused. Behind me is a wall and a curtain on this side, and then back there's like openness in a hall. So it isn't me trying to be rude or just trying to stare at myself because it's habit. It's just I'm trying to keep an eye on everything behind me. So I apologize. I know it's really annoying, so I'm very, very sorry to all of you, so please bear with me. But today I want to talk about Bdsm, which, oh my gosh, I've looked on YouTube because I'm very into Bdsm, and it's something that means a lot to me. So I've looked at videos, and I've come across hundreds of videos, and I tried to make a playlist of all the ones I thought were like really spot on and well done. I was like, this would be great. And when people have questions for me about my lifestyle, my choices, I can be like, oh look, here's a playlist. That was my goal. I found like 8 to 10, I believe, and I'm still looking, but I went through well over 100, close to hundreds of videos, and that's all I found. There was so much misinformation and so much wrong about what I was listening to that, wow. Wow, like if that's what's really going on, shame on everyone who's not doing their research or really trying, because people are going to get hurt and people are going to be very misled. So kind of backspacing this a little bit, I was in a TPE for over 5 years, and TPE is total power exchange, and what that means is that it was 24/7. My life belonged to my master, and it was beautiful. It was a wonderful experience that I cherish, and I can't say anything bad about. So basically, it was 24/7, living the lifestyle, living everything about it, and there wasn't a break. There wasn't, a timeout. It was all day, every day. That's what it was. And that doesn't mean that you had to have sex all day. That doesn't mean that at all, because BDSM takes it so much further. Being a slave takes things so much further. It's so much more than just sex. And to me, there's many different areas of submission, which we'll go into. You have to submit and be submissive before you are ready to be anywhere near somebody's slave, which I was, and I loved that as well. You have to be submissive yourself, but you also have to let a master, who would be someone to own a slave, you have to let them be your dominant first, because you can't just sign your life away to somebody because they are a master. You have to realize if they're worth that or not, if they really are correct to be a master, and especially to be your master. So it's not as simple as some people want to make it seem. You don't just jump into this crazy fast life. This is serious. A TPE is as serious or more than marriage to many people. So it's something you really have to consider. You have to think about. You have to be really ready for, and you have to do your research on. And looking over these YouTube videos, it was shocking. And to kind of go on a side note, because I've been in a TPE, or I was in one, for so long, and then I had also been in BDSM dom sub situations for a long time. Sorry. But that all aside, I never felt the need to go and look or really find somebody. I didn't have a problem finding somebody. I was very open about my sexuality, and that all aside, for some reason I almost attracted the correct people for that, and it was nice. Also, my master, who was a wonderful man and is a wonderful man, he introduced me to some very good people, and he decided in his free will, because he was boss and it was fine with me as well, that he was going to occasionally bring in another man that was a dominant. So he would be a master and there would be a dominant, and it would be for that type of role. It would be that type of situation, and I loved it. I felt it was very nice. So that being said, normally it was the same person, but I did meet other people that were in the lifestyle. So I always had people around and people who had the same beliefs and loves and likes and interests as me. But I was asked if I had a FetLife because I write erotic, just erotica and stuff like that. It's very graphic. And I didn't, because I also just write poetry, some very dark, very depressing poetry, but also some very beautiful, light poetry, mainly dark and depressing though. And I just felt that was enough to share with people. And the very dark stuff, I'd show a couple select few people, and everyone else, I guess I can't really show them. And that was my view on it. That was just how I took it and how I handled it and what it was. So I never really thought to put that somewhere, just because it felt like I couldn't, I suppose, or I shouldn't, which is so ironic for being open about being a slave. But I was asked many times if I had a FetLife, and I didn't, and I wasn't looking for anybody, so I was like, well, I still don't really want one. And they, the friend who had brought it up to me, they brought up that, well, if you did get one, you could put your writing on there. There's a lot of people that use FetLife just for writing. They use it just to, publish a little bit of their poetry or erotic novels, I suppose. They have people who link their stuff there. They have people who actually write their stuff there. And it was very, just very interesting. I was like, oh, well, you know what? I'm very open to this. And it was right after I had gotten out of the TPE situation, which it was a very willing and mutual clause that I would leave upon. I'll make a whole video about that. It was under beautiful terms. He didn't do anything that broke contract as far as, violence out of the bedroom, anything like that. He was a wonderful man. I didn't do anything either. It was for a very dull reason, and we're very, very good friends, and just, we have a very good future with one another still. So anyway, that kind of pushed aside, I suppose. Like, at the time I was asked about FetLife, I wasn't with somebody as far as the TPE. So I decided, why not? I'll make one and I'll use it for my writing. And I will, I'll post some pictures, which I definitely did. And, yeah, I'll test the waters. And they ask you when you join what you are, what's your orientation. Are you, gay, straight, bi, transgender, genderqueer, whatever. And they ask you also sexuality-wise, which you are. And so I put down that I am a slave, and that I was a slave for many years, and that I'm also a submissive. It's important to be a submissive before a slave. So I put that down as well. And the amount of messages I got from ignorant people, just like some of these YouTube videos are very, very badly done and dangerous to people. The amount of undescribable messages I got, they were sad. Normally I'd get a message from like a nice member of the website that was a submissive or a slave, like saying hello, and these were men as well, the submissives, the two that I'm thinking of. They would send me messages and be sweet and kind and awesome, and I was like, wow, these are really nice people. And they understood it. Those two men that I'm thinking of specifically, they got it. Like, they knew what it was like to be a submissive and what it was like to be in this headspace and this lifestyle, and there was never a question of it. It was never something that they didn't understand. It was, they got it and they knew it, and it was great talking to them, and it was wonderful sharing my feelings and experiences and theirs back to me. It was beautiful. And then you were going on the other side. I had so many masters, and I'm using that very, very lightly because that's what they claimed and that is not what they were, who would send me messages like, with their phone number. Was the most common that I got. It was with their phone number. And they would send a message and say, call me or text me or whatever, and that they're going to immediately start testing me as their, like, I need to act immediately as their slave, and they're going to be testing me to see if, like, I meet the quota. These are people I don't know. And it's absolutely disgusting because it is so wrong. It is so not how you do things, and it's mortifying to think someone actually believes that. And I'm definitely not this argumentative jerk by any means of it. I wasn't bashing them back. I wasn't being that way. But wow, like, it was ridiculous. And first of all, even if you want a dominant, you don't want a master. You don't want a master-slave situation. You want a dom-sub situation. When you meet these dominants, you first don't let them be a dominant to you. You first spend time together. You earn each other's trust. Because if someone's going to be your dominant, they need to have your full trust. It's giving someone your weakest self, the most vulnerable state of you, and trusting them to guide you and lead you. You need a massive amount of trust, even just for a dominant to dominate you correctly. It's a headspace. It's a lifestyle. It's a very important situation that it has to be handled correctly. You have to know somebody. You have to understand somebody. They have to understand you. It can't be this impulsive, wrong situation where you're misusing it. It's not at all about just someone tying someone up and slapping them. That's not what this is. And to be honest, when it is, you're either just a little kinky. If you just want to do that once in a while, you don't want to be owned, you don't want it to be more, you're just kinky. You just like something, but you aren't a submissive. So don't claim that you are, and you're not a dominant if you tie up 6 different girls here and there and rotate them, and you don't really get anyone in a headspace. You just like tying them up and slapping them around. And there's way more to it. I'm just using an example, but that's being kinky. And if anything, that's being a little bit masochistic. It's that simple. Like, I wouldn't say it's necessarily being sadistic as a male or female, whoever's in that role, because sometimes that there are like a sadistic dom. It can be kind of blurred as there's a masochistic sub. But sometimes people just like inflicting or receiving pain, and it isn't a headspace, and there is no more meaning to it. Or they're just kinky, and they just like to experiment and try new things. But it isn't at all about a headspace or finding your true self, which that's not a submissive then. That's not a dominant then. That's not a master or a slave. That's just kinky. And I tried to tell these people that and let them know they're doing this wrong. Basically, my master would love me enough to want to live my life and his. And he would take on the burden and the responsibility and the care of both of those things, of my life and his. And during a sexual situation, the feeling of completely being, it's not the feeling people necessarily think it is. It's not feeling completely restrained. When you're tied or held down, or any situation, you don't have to be tied or held, just in a BDSM submissive situation, you feel free. It's like every hit with a flogger, or every time that you are instructed to do something, it frees you, it frees your soul, and it makes you completely one with just this peace, this inner beautiful peace. They're literally putting you in a headspace that frees you from yourself. You have no burdens. Your life isn't yours to be responsible for right now. And it can be just for a scene, just for 15 minutes, just for an hour, or it can be 24/7, depending. But you need such strong trust and devotion with somebody to actually have this, and to have this be a true dom sub or slave master situation. It's such a serious thing. It's such an important thing, and it's such an important thing to be done right and to be handled right. And it's such a shame to see these people signing contracts that are signing their life away when they met someone on FetLife for 5 minutes or watched a YouTube video that said they should. And it's scary. because it's so much more than that, and it's so much more serious than that. And I'm just very afraid that I'm going to see someone get hurt, or I'm sure a lot of people have gotten hurt. And I'm assuming a lot of the people who are doing this are doing it from the wrong place. They're doing it from anger, so they want to hit somebody, and they want to overpower somebody. And it's never from anger. It's from love and wanting to free someone and wanting to make them a better them. That is what a true master and true dominant does. I know I'm kind of all over the place with this video, but it's so important to understand how major this is and how you have to get to know somebody. And I'm not at all okay with these submissives that are brats, and that's okay. Other people, they're okay with it, they like it. It's just not for me. But there are submissives that they test their dominant, and they push them to these far limits. And to me, that's not truly submitting either. That's not the type of submission that I would want to give somebody. That's not letting go of your daily struggles fully. And to them it is. To a point, it's for a little bit of a different mindset, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just definitely not for me. I like to just completely serve my master or my dom. I like to bring them food and to shine a light over their book as he is reading, and just something along those lines. Like, I like to just be there and truly serve in all ways and make my dominant happy. That's what matters to me, at least. And that's what should matter to all submissives. So I know it's going to be a long video. I want to keep this so real and so uncut. But there's a lot more I have to say on it. I want to talk about collars, which I've got one here. And this is locks. I don't know if you can see that. So it's a discreet one. This one doesn't come off. I'm not going to yank on it because I love it, but it's a 24/7 symbol. I haven't taken this off. I won't take this off. It's just a 24/7 symbol of my dedication to the lifestyle and to being a submissive and a slave. And it's a symbol of that I wear all the time and I keep with me all the time. I also am into DDLG to a certain point. The headspace of it and the outfits, the cute collars and the dress wear, I don't go beyond that. Some people do, some don't. I personally don't. But I do that, and I as well enjoy kitten space. It's something that I like. I've played around with puppy space, but I'm not necessarily experienced with it at all. But I like that. I mean, they both are something that in that headspace I get a lot of freedom, I get a lot of enjoyment, and it's a way to submit and kind of do it in a little bit of a different way. So there are collars that I have. I've got many collars, uncountable amount, because I love them. But I have 3 custom kitten / DDLG like collars that I want to show and talk about, and then I want to talk about the locked necklace around my neck and what it symbolizes and everything like that. There are collaring ceremonies I could talk for days about. I want to get into all of that as well and talk a little bit about where I got my little kitten collars, and I don't know, just the rules of them. Like, I don't think a lot of people know if you have a dominant and you put on a collar, you can't take it off. I feel it's very morally wrong. They have to unlock it and take it off even if you put it on yourself. There's just little things like that I think it would be very informative to just tell the internet about and talk about on this channel. There are also sadistic, masochistic things that I'm definitely not opposed to, that I get a lot of enjoyment out of. And what is the difference between that and a typical submissive? And I really want to get into all of this. I've got quite a few video ideas. But I just wanted to, right now, get a little bit of information out there and state how strongly that so much out there is wrong. Don't, please, if you're listening and you have a FetLife and you are looking for somebody, not just being on there like I was, but you are actively looking, please do not ever let somebody dominate you immediately. Don't let somebody tell you that to be a good slave, you have to immediately prove it to them when you don't even know if you want them to be your master. Don't do it. Please don't do it. You're going to get hurt, and I just really hope this reaches somebody that it could help. And on the other side of things, don't be ashamed of this. My grandparents they raised me, and they are extremely conservative and religious. They're very, very religious. And I tell my grandma nightly what I do, what I'm into. And even if she doesn't necessarily like it, I tell her because I don't want to hide anything. Of course, I wouldn't say some personal detail I was asked not to or anything like that, but I keep it very open that I'm into BDSM. I have a yes, no, maybe list, and it's like a kink quiz for BDSM. I've shown her my results. That's something I'm going to see if I can somehow put somewhere. I'm not sure how I would do that, but I'm going to try to at some point. Maybe I'll print it out and show it in another video, show a clip of it or something. But I would like to kind of show people how the yes, no, maybe list works and a kink quiz works. And it's something, like I said, I've shown my grandma. Don't be ashamed of this lifestyle. If, on the other end, if it's something you're going to get thrown out of the house for talking about, maybe think twice and, like, wait until you're actually able to talk about it. But when you're in a place where either you're able to talk about it or you don't care if you get thrown out, you have somewhere to go, be open about it. It's very freeing, and it could spread light and awareness to a topic that really, really deserves it. It's a very good and freeing lifestyle when it's done right. So again, sorry this was a very long video and kind of all over the place, but I needed to stress how it should be done and not to just give yourself to these people who don't deserve it, to be quite frank, because they're not actually doing any of this right. So I love you guys. Please stay safe out there, and I will probably sooner than I think be making another video based on how this has been. So please be safe, guys. Bye, guys.